This is Rachel Maddow, the host of MSNBC's The Rachel Maddow Show. Recently, Maddow featured excerpts from The Atlantic magazine, a publication that claims that you should subscribe because they offer essential journalism for historic times.
Headline: The cabinet secretary who wants his cookies freshly baked. Trump administration Interior Secretary Doug Burgum likes chocolate chip cookies, preferably freshly baked and still warm.
Essential journalism for historic times indeed. But hang on, who doesn't like warm, freshly baked cookies? It'd be kind of weird if Secretary Burgum didn't. But Rachel Maddow in The Atlantic thinks that this is peculiar.
This peculiar fact became the talk of the Department of the Interior in recent weeks after his chief of staff made an unusual request of staff in his office. Quote, "Learn to regularly bake cookies for Secretary Burgum and his guests using the industrial ovens at the department headquarters."
Oh my God. But I also need to point out the definition of the word peculiar. It's an adjective that means strange or odd, unusual. The article's authors, Michael Shear and Ashley Parker, a Pulitzer Prize winner, by the way, think that it's strange and unusual to like fresh, warm cookies, when in reality, it's much more peculiar if you didn't. Two Interior Department officials, speaking anonymously to push back on what they say are false claims, said the cookies, which are made from store-bought pre-made dough and served to guests and staff in a basket, are simply part of the hospitality the department offers to visitors. Fresh chocolate chip cookies at work, delivered in a basket? What a horrible nightmare.
That request was not the only move by his team that has alarmed some Interior officials. 4 people familiar with Burgum's leadership told The Atlantic that those who run Burgum's office have repeatedly made unusual demands to his employees.
Let me guess, no brown M&Ms, right?
His office leadership, for example, once instructed political appointees to act as servers for a multi-course meal. They also did, like waiters, they made them into waiters.
How much you want to bet that Rachel Maddow forces her underlings at MSNBC to do all sorts of stupid, unrelated crap for her? But, that's beside the point. Here's more detail from The Atlantic. On February 11th, Burgum's office instructed 4 political appointees in the office of the secretary, who have no formal role in food service, to stage a multi-course lunch for a meeting with Energy Secretary Chris Wright and Mark Christie, the head of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. His office ordered catered food, and the political appointees plated it into multiple serving courses and washed the dishes afterwards. So staffers were asked to put food on plates for 3 people and wash dishes? Burgum's meal with Wright and Christie was not elaborate, they said. Salad, lasagna, and dessert. We're talking 3 plates, 3 forks, one of the officials said, adding that it was the only time Burgum hosted lunch at the department. That's it? The way Maddow was describing it, it was like the staff members were forced to dress up in bow ties and wait on lunch guests hand and foot. But I would like to ask, where was Rachel Maddow in The Atlantic when Secret Service agents were relegated to be dog walkers for Joe Biden's German Shepherds? Not to mention that there were at least 36 biting incidents where one of Biden's 3 dogs injured Secret Service agents. So as if Secret Service agents didn't have enough to worry about, they had to actively avoid being bitten by an unruly and unpredictable animal. And on top of that, they had to deal with this guy's dogs. But sure, let's be concerned about people being asked to occasionally slide cookies into an oven. Concerns about the use of political appointees, who are supposed to be helping to run the department, to serve food to the secretary later reached the White House. Mr. President, you'll never believe what they asked me to do. They told me to put food on plates and then wash the plates afterwards.
You're fired. Go. Thank you.
Anyway, Rachel Maddow was obsessed with the cookie revelation.
On at least one occasion, a political appointee was told to remake the cookies because the batch was subpar, according to 3 people. The Atlantic has 3 sources on the Interior Department staff member being told to rebake the cookies for the secretary.
Wait, Secretary Burgum Didn't want people to eat subpar cookies? Wow, what a monster.
What'd they do with the old cookies? What was wrong with them? Is there anything you could do to cookies that would be that bad?
Is there anything you could do to the cookies that would be that bad? She freaking serious? Ever hear of burnt cookies, Rachel? Also, what does it say about our government employees if they can't even bake store-bought cookie dough without screwing it up? And then they get so upset when they're told to make another batch the right way that they complain to the press about it. Sad, really. Burgum has made some other peculiar requests of his staff. One standing request, described by two people, is that the labels get removed from water bottles before they are delivered to him. An Interior Department official said they remove the labels to avoid branding issues, especially when sharing photos on social media. But that's not a strange request if there's actual reasoning behind it. But Rachel Maddow's gonna find fault with that one too.
Burgum also reportedly demands, quote, that any labels get removed from water bottles before they are delivered to him. Or else. I mean, the man obviously cannot remove the labels from his own water bottles. That must be done by other government employees, people on the payroll paid by the taxpayers, because I mean, think about it. Honestly, if the secretary himself was occupied removing his own water bottle labels, he might not get to the cookies in time. And then who would send them back, demanding that they were not warm enough and they must be rebaked?
So The Atlantic also reported that Secretary Burgum once got a ride in a U.S. Park Police helicopter. On February 7th, Burgum's office ordered Eagle One, a U.S. Park Police helicopter stationed in Anacostia Park, to land at Polo Fields near the National Mall to transport him to Andrews Air Force Base.
The aviation unit of the U.S. Park Police, a division of the Department of the Interior, does not routinely handle VIP transport, according to a U.S. Park Police fact sheet. The blue and white helicopters launched to provide additional aerial surveillance during presidential and other dignitary movements and are used for medevac, search and rescue, high-risk prisoner transport, and to support law enforcement operations.
But what Maddow and The Atlantic have omitted is that the United States Park Police provides security for, wait for it, the Secretary of the Interior. It's their damn job, which is why the details of the helicopter ride were relegated to paragraphs 16 and 17. The Secretary was slated to staff the President of the United States for a trip over the Gulf of America. Interior spokeswoman Katie Martin told us in a statement. When it was clear that afternoon DC traffic would not allow him to travel by vehicle, the decision was made to take a helicopter to ensure that he arrived at Andrews on time to staff President Trump, which is a core mission of the Secretary of the Interior.
And also to make sure he is there in time for the cookies to still be warm, or they are going back. Do it again!
The Atlantic article claims that one person familiar with the behavior described Burgum as Doug the Diva. One would describe a diva as a self-important person who is temperamental and difficult to please, demanding. But let's see if that definition fits Secretary Doug Burgum. Burgum has also used the political appointees in his department for another purpose in recent days: stacking firewood in his office's fireplace. At times, he has instructed his staff on the finer points of arranging logs so they won't collapse and create noise when burning during meetings. An Interior Department official said many people in the department, from Burgum himself to the most junior staff, have helped make these fires. Two Interior Department officials added that Burgum regularly flies coach. Last Thursday, for instance, he flew on American Airlines to a fracking event in Washington County, Pennsylvania, in coach, this sort of commercial travel that is more typical. Doug Burgum is worth something like $100 million, yet flies coach and helps start up a fireplace in his office so that his guests are warm. What a diva, am I right? Anyway, when the Atlantic article was published, it included the following two back-to-back sentences. Two people said political appointees in Burgum's office have been seen crying because of the demands placed on them. Multiple people have resigned from Burgum's immediate staff since his confirmation, according to two people. And political appointees have been seen crying because of the demands placed on them. Seems kind of repetitive. I guess winning a Pulitzer doesn't make you a good editor or proofreader. But then, days later, the claim that multiple people have resigned mysteriously disappeared from the article. So, wait, have multiple people on Burgum's immediate staff resigned or not? Well, couldn't tell ya, because The Atlantic didn't follow the basic journalistic practice of printing a correction to address the omission. I reached out to Michael Shear and Ashley Parker on X and asked for comment. I don't expect a response because that would require integrity. And on that note, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. A special thanks to Poofy for her help with the script. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time, if there is next time.